I'm going to show you 8 advanced SEO strategies you can implement for your fashion brand. Just a quick warning, these aren't beginner tips and I do move fast in this video, so make sure you already know the basics of SEO before watching this video. I'm Tyler Nelbach, the founder of SEO Align. I've helped dozens of fashion brands improve their organic traffic and revenue with SEO. I've helped several multi-million-dollar fashion brands improve their organic revenue by over $50,000 per month. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you how you can download my fashion SEO checklist so you can easily implement everything I go over in this video. So let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so I broke this down into 3 main categories: relevance, authority, and user experience. So for the relevance bucket, we're going to talk about on-page optimization first. So I'm going to hop over to one of the pages on this website, Brahmin.com, and I'm just going to hop over to their handbags collection page. And there's a lot of things that are really important to consider when you're looking at on-page optimization. One thing I would definitely recommend is getting the detailed Chrome extension. It's free to download and you just hook it up and it's going to help you with all sorts of on-page stuff. But really important is that after you have your keywords picked out, you want to make sure that you have your keyword in the title tag. You want it in the meta description, you want it in the H1, and you want it in the actual content of the page as well. So I'm going to open up this detailed extension here, and you can see they're targeting the keyword that is something like leather handbag, something like that. And you can see this title tag. They have stylish leather handbags and purses. I think this is a pretty solid title tag. One thing I would argue that I don't love about it is that it looks like they're going after handbags and purses on this page. And these are keywords that are going to be really competitive. And if they're that competitive, you really want to have a dedicated page for what you're doing here. So what I would do to improve this is I would have this be something along the lines of stylish leather handbags. And then you could have a different page that's targeting purses. So just one thing I wanted to mention there. Then the H1, you can actually use the detailed Chrome extension, hop over to the headings area, and you can see what the H1 tag is. Right now it's just handbags. So that one is a little bit tricky because it seems like maybe they're trying to rank for just the broad keyword of handbags, which is super competitive. What I would recommend here is if they're going after the keyword leather handbags, which it looks like they are, I'd make sure that this H1 is leather handbags. So pretty simple update here, but it would make a really big difference as far as their rankings in the leather handbag space. The H1 tag is super important for ranking. So that's one thing I would do. I do like that they don't have much text content up here. I'll get to this in the user experience side of things. But I'm just going to hop down because they've got their products here. And then underneath their products, they have a little bit of content here. So they're talking about unique handbags, quality handbags, designer handbags. So it's interesting because they don't really mention a ton. They mention leather here. But I would make sure to use the keyword leather handbags in that first sentence. Just right away, that's something that's super important to have as far up in the text content as possible. So that's one thing I would mention too, and I'm just going to double check here in the meta description as well. Elevate your style with Brahmin's stylish leather handbags and purses. I think that's pretty solid. Again, kind of going back to the whole having a dedicated page for handbags and a dedicated page for purses. I would probably have this just be geared towards handbags, but they're already kind of hitting the handbags and purses all together. So based on what they're actually doing right now, I think this is fine, but I would personally make some tweaks if I were doing SEO on this website. So those are really important aspects for the on-page stuff. And that's honestly, it's pretty simple stuff, but you just have to know what you're doing, because to make those changes, it's going to take you 15 minutes to make those changes. But you just have to know what you're actually updating. You have to make sure you're absolutely zoned in on the keyword that you're trying to rank for, especially in the fashion space. It's just a really competitive space. So you want to make sure that you're doing that right. So the second area within the relevance category that I want to talk about is sub-collection pages. So they have their handbags collection page, but they also have, if you look in their menu, they have all these different kinds of handbags. They've got crossbodies, satchels, shoulder bags, backpacks. This is something I see so many brands get wrong, is they just have their main collection page and that's it. And really what that's doing is that's completely closing you off to all sorts of keywords you could be ranking for. So if you just have a handbags page, you're not going to be able to rank for all these other subcategories. And the reason that's so important is because people are searching for specific handbags, probably more than they're actually searching for handbags in general. On top of that is the fact that when people are doing more specific searches like that, when they're searching for crossbody handbags, they're further down the buying funnel. They already know exactly what they want. And so if you can rank for that keyword, that type of keyword is going to convert so much better than if you're just ranking for the keyword handbags. So that's another reason why this is super important. If you don't have these subcategories, you're leaving a lot on the table as far as your traffic and revenue opportunity. So make sure you make sure when you kind of identify what your main products are, come up with what are other ways to categorize it where you can drill a little bit deeper. So you could go deeper than what they have. So I'm just gonna open up the satchels collection here. So you could even go deeper than this because we could go by color now too. We could target, instead of just satchel bags or leather satchel bags, we could target brown leather satchel bags and have a sub collection page. And it's super powerful because what it's doing is you're having a dedicated page. So the keyword brown leather satchels, if you have a dedicated page for that keyword and other websites out there don't, and they just have one page for satchels, it's going to give you a much better opportunity to rank because you have a dedicated page that is hyper specific to what somebody's searching. And when Google finds that, showing your listing is going to be a lot more enticing to them because it's more relevant than what other people have out there. So I'd really, really consider and really drill deep to all of the different collections and sub collections you can create, because there's a lot of opportunity out there when you really look at the whole landscape there. So that's another area for the relevance. So basically it's just, you have your keywords and make the pages as relevant as possible and make sure you have the most relevant page as well. And you can do that easily by just creating more collection pages. So really big thing I wanted to mention there as far as the relevant side. Okay, now let's talk about authority. So when I talk about authority, there's really a few different aspects here, but what I'm kind of zoning in on right now is building backlinks. So in order to build authority and ultimately rank really, really well and compete with big brands, you need to be getting other websites to link to your website. And this is something that can be really tricky because it's not just a matter of getting as many links as you can. There's so many different aspects of this. There's making sure that you're getting really good websites to link to you, making sure you're getting links to the right pages, making sure that your anchor text is solid. There's a lot of stuff here. And there's kind of three main things that I wanted to talk about as far as how to actually build these links. So one of those is building linkable assets. So this is actually going to be something that you are creating on your website that you are trying to naturally attract backlinks. And this is super powerful because this makes it so that you don't have to go out and do a ton of outreach to get backlinks. And lately it's been getting harder and harder to do outreach for backlinks because it's just so saturated. Everybody's doing it. People are just so used to getting pitch slapped for links, and the websites are lower quality. Websites are charging more for links. It's really difficult to get high quality links now. But when you're building linkable assets, what's happening is you're creating a asset that people actually want to link to, and that's going to passively and naturally attract these backlinks that you're not going to have to really do anything for it, and they're just going to keep coming in. So really what you need to do is you need to figure out the hardest part is figuring out what you can actually write about. And you can do this a few different ways. A really good way to identify some of these opportunities is to figure out what your competitors are doing and what types of pages are actually attracting backlinks on their websites, because then you could create a similar asset that that type of post, that type of asset already attracts links. So you can create something similar in kind of a different angle that has a good chance of attracting links yourself. So I'm just going to take this website and I'm going to plug it in, and we're just going to pretend like now that Brahmin is a competitor. And I'm just going to look at our backlinks to this website, because this will give us a really good indication of what pages on their website are bringing in backlinks. And then we kind of know what we can do to create something similar. Okay, so we scroll down, we see their homepage, the handbags page. We're looking more, not for collection pages, but more for some of those internal pages, maybe their blog posts, resource pages, anything like that. Okay. Let's see this one. So this one has 11 different referring domains. Let's see what this one is. 4 steps to create ultimate casual chic style. So this one, obviously, it's attracting backlinks. This isn't necessarily one that screams like it would just, attract backlinks like crazy. But it is attracting backlinks. So this is one that I would definitely add to, a proven concept type of topic. So 4 steps, ultimate casual chic style. I would add this to my list. Really what I would do is I'd be trying to compile a list of ideas that have done well, have attracted backlinks. We know that one has. You kind of keep just scrolling down here, seeing which other ones are getting backlinks, because really that's the best way. That's the best way to go about creating linkable assets yourself. You want a proven concept that is going to work, because if you're just randomly going at this, you have the potential to waste a lot of time and energy and possibly money that you're putting in. So find ideas that have worked, document how many backlinks they've attracted, and look at other competitors and just continue to go through here, and you'll find, this is just one website, but if you really go through all of your competitors, you're going to find a lot of stuff. Like, I think if I scroll back up here, there was even one for their giving page. So this is one that has attracted 12 different referring domains. And so it's just from basically what they're talking about giving back. So if this is something that you do, maybe create a page for that and promote that a little bit, because people like linking to this kind of stuff. So it doesn't have to be a blog post. It can be a giving page like this. It absolutely can be a blog post. It can be a data-driven blog post. But the best way to go about this is to figure out what your competitors are doing, what other companies in the industry are doing to attract some of these backlinks, and create similar assets. You don't want to copy them, but create similar assets with a different angle to go after these. So that's the first one I wanted to talk about. Second one I wanted to talk about is earned media mentions. So this is really, really powerful, because you can build really, really high authority links this way. So you can use platforms like Featured, Quoted, Connectively, where basically what's happening is journalists are putting out requests because they're looking for quotes to include in an article that they're already writing. And so they're looking to be connected with experts. And in this case, there's a lot of journalists out there that they're writing a fashion piece, and they're looking for experts in the fashion space. And then what you can do is you can respond with a quote of yours that could be considered to be featured in their article. And what they'll do is basically they look through all of the quotes that were sent to them. They'll pick out their favorites, include them in the article. And then what they normally do is they include a link back to your website. So that is super powerful. Basically, if you can just get a little bit consistent with your pitching, and you pitch, 10 of these a month, you're going to start to see these links roll in. And you don't have to get too crazy with it either. It can be a few sentences of a pitch, and that works really, really well. So that's one thing that I would definitely recommend getting into, because you get some of those really, really big links. Because the publications that are looking for expert quotes, they're just good, high quality publications. So that's the second one I wanted to mention. The third one I wanted to mention that can be a little bit trickier is guest posting. So this used to be a really, really effective way to build links, and it still can be if you do it right. So right now, Google has really caught on to the really spammy websites that are allowing everybody to guest post on their website. And that's just, it's not a good tactic. It's putting out all sorts of low quality content. Google doesn't like it. Google punishes those websites. Their rankings fall off. What you need to do is you need to find the websites that are actually good websites that are willing to accept guest posts, but are only accepting very, very relevant guest posts and high quality guest posts. And that's where it can get really tricky, because everybody talks about high quality guest posts, and it's not all high quality, trust me. So you need to find the websites that are bringing in real traffic sustainably, that have sustained that amount of traffic, ideally are increasing their traffic, and are ranking for relevant keywords in the fashion industry. They're not ranking for just random keywords, anything like that, because there's, like I said, there's so many spammy websites out there that are pumping up their traffic numbers in these third-party platforms like SEMrush and Ahrefs. And it's so easy to go out there and just do a guest post on a really bad website. So if you can do this right, the benefit of it is you can actually drive pages, or you can drive backlinks to your internal pages. So in this case, if you're trying to get your handbags page ranked, you can drive backlinks to this handbags page directly. And that's super powerful because you have your domain level authority, and then you have a page level authority, and you want to be building backlinks to your homepage. You want to be lifting up the domain altogether, but you also want to be lifting up individual pages too. And so if you can build some backlinks to your internal pages, to your collection pages, that's going to help you rank that page so much easier, because it's really giving it more power beyond just the on-page signals that you're putting out there. So if you can find the right websites, guest posting is still very powerful. But I would never guest post just to do guest posting on, just random websites that, even if they have traffic numbers that are inflated, because it's so easy to do that now, to just inflate the traffic numbers on these third-party platforms, that I don't trust those numbers anymore. You really got to do deep dives into the quality of the website to just make sure it's a good website to actually do a guest post on. So the next thing I want to talk about is user experience. So this has become very, very important, especially in the e-commerce space, because Google wants to make sure people are having a good user experience when they're on a website. And there's a bunch of different ways that you can provide a good user experience. The first one I want to talk about is website speed. So super important that you have a fast loading website, because people just aren't going to stay on your website if it's not fast. You can do all sorts of tests with Google, different page speed tests. You can do the Core Web Vitals test to see how fast your website is loading. The nice thing about those types of tests is they usually give you recommendations of what actually needs to be fixed. I can't get into those in this video because there's probably hundreds of things that could impact your website loading speed. But the biggest thing is just knowing, like, you have to have a fast website. And especially if you have if you're on Shopify or a platform like that, there's a lot of tools out there to really help you speed up the website, whether it's an app, something like that, to really help you speed things up. Because if you just kind of looking at this site, just kind of going to different pages, you can see it's loading very fast. It's creating a good user experience as far as a website speed standpoint. So if things are getting hung up and they're taking too long to load, that's no good, especially when somebody's coming from the search results. They click on your listing and it takes too long to load and they go back. That looks horrible to Google. So that stuff really impacts your rankings. So you could do everything else right, have a bad user experience, and what's going to happen is your rankings are eventually going to fall off once Google catches on to that. So website speed is super important. The next thing I want to talk about that I see way too often is website pop-ups like crazy. And so the biggest one I see is people trying to get users to sign up for their newsletter. And what normally happens is they go to the website and they get a pop-up right away about either, liking them on social media or signing up for their newsletter or something like that. Not something users like. They don't want to see that. Eventually, when they're on the site for a while, I think it's appropriate to send a website pop-up if you have some sort of discount code for a first-time buyer. I think that's great. But do not slam them right when they get to your website with any sort of pop-up like that, because it's frustrating. And that's something Google can see too. It might cause them to leave. It might cause them to do all sorts of things in your website that Google has gotten very good at understanding if a website visitor isn't happy. So cool it a little bit on the website pop-ups like that, because users don't like it and it's actually hurting you rather than helping you. So that was the second thing I wanted to mention. Third thing I wanted to mention is your menu navigation. So make sure you have this menu navigation up here make sure you have this set up in a way that makes sense. I see this a lot too, where I think it's really easy for website owners, fashion brand owners to really get a little bit too hung up inside of the business to understand what makes the most sense to have in this menu navigation here. You just want it to be as easy as possible for users to understand things. So right now, you see we have a new arrivals for this website. We have handbags, wallets and accessories, collections, gifts. I think this is pretty solid, especially when you hover over and you see the drop down, you see all of the different handbag types that they have. If I hover over wallets and accessories, it's got all the other stuff that they have here too. I think this could be improved a little bit just because wallets and accessories, that's really vague because you have wallets and then you have a completely different, like accessories is something different. So you don't really necessarily know what you're getting when you hover over this. I think they make it pretty clear with these options. So this isn't horrible, but I think it could be clarity-wise improved as far as what are we even going to see in this category. So that's one thing I wanted to mention because users are very, very quick to leave a website if they're confused. And obviously you don't want to do that for your own business, but you also don't want Google to see that people are confused and leaving your website. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. And the last part of the user experience I wanted to mention is your actual content organization. So I touched on this for a second at the beginning of this video, is the actual text content that you have. So you want to make sure that on your actual commercial collection pages like this, that you don't have too much text content that pushes products down. So you see this website, they just have 1 to 2 lines in each of their categories about that actual category. And then if they want to go a little more in depth, they have it underneath the products, which is exactly what you should be doing. Because if they had all of this up here, what it's going to do is it's going to push all of the products down and users are going to have to scroll to get to the products. They might not, if it pushes it down too much, they might not even really understand that this is a category page with products. And you want to make things as easy as possible for users. So any sort of text content you want to have, make sure that's under the products. Like this is completely fine, having just 1 to 2 lines here, because that's not really going to change much as far as how much users have to scroll. But I see it way too often where there's just paragraphs and paragraphs of text above the products, and it looks like a blog post. It doesn't even look like a collection page. And it's so confusing for users right off the bat if they have to scroll to get to the products. And just to be honest, like when you land on a collection page and you're looking at products, you want to see the products right away. You don't care about the text at the top. Maybe you'll go back and look at it, but you care about the products. You want to look at it. You want that visual aspect. So make sure you're doing that right, because it's just so easy to make things really difficult for users, even though you're just kind of, trying to improve your SEO by having more text content. It can actually hurt you. So in this case, make sure that text is underneath the products here. If you follow these 8 strategies to a T, I guarantee you're going to see your organic traffic take off. And if you'd rather have me help you instead, just go over to SEOalign.com and schedule a call to see if we'd be a good fit to work together. I also put together a free fashion SEO checklist to help you rank for your most important keywords. I'll go ahead and leave a link right in the description where you can grab that checklist. If you got value out of this, please like this video and subscribe for more fashion SEO videos just like this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.